It's the SEGAbits Swingin Report Show.
Get ready.
Genesis does.
16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does.
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
Does.
Hello and welcome to episode 57 of the SEGAbits Swingin Report Show. I'm Barry and with me is George.
Hello.
And we are joined by a very special guest, Tulio Gonçalves, the president of WaterMelon Video Games. Hello, Tulio.
Hello. How are you doing?
Good. We're doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we just reached out to you guys just on Friday, so it's probably the fastest turnaround for a guest we've ever had. So let's. I wanted to get right into things. You guys are working hard on Pier Solar HD for a huge amount of systems. I know it's on both PC. It's also on Mac, Xbox One, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Wii U, and also the SEGA Dreamcast, which was what really excited us, and we wanted to bring you on the show to talk about that. And you also had previously released it on the SEGA Genesis, and I actually picked up that copy. I'm looking at it right here. And I wanted to talk about how was it that you came to start developing games out of Iowa, of all places?
Yes, a lot of people ask that, and actually, I came to Iowa after the development had started. When I started the development, I was still living in Brazil, and my partner was in France, and we were developing the game together. I used to work as an IT consultant. Mm-hmm. My company got this client here in Iowa, and then because I had fluent English, they decided to send me here. And that's how I came here. And I was working for one of the big companies in the city of Muscatine.
Okay.
And as the development went, we get the game released, and eventually I decided to go full-time for WaterMelon. But the time when we had to actually incorporate the company, I was already here, so that's why the company was founded here in Muscatine.
Okay, great. And I mean, I'm from the Midwest, so I definitely I get people even who are surprised that people exist in the Midwest, let alone
Right.
gaming companies. So I mean no disrespect in that sense, but there's definitely a lot of awesome stuff coming out of Minnesota, Iowa, that whole region. I'm curious, with the inception of Pier Solar, I know it was originally a homebrew project. I remember reading the forums years ago. It was called Tavern RPG, correct?
Yes.
And how did that go about from becoming what it was to being a WaterMelon game? And it was your first game too, I'm assuming.
Yes. The thing is that when we began, the whole idea was just to develop an RPG because it was a message board, and we had a lot of people, very knowledgeable people there. We had the authors of Gens, the author of Kega Fusion, a lot of people who know the hardware really, really well, and that knows how to develop games. They were doing technical demos like displaying 1,000 colors in the Genesis and so on. When someone came and said, hey, let's go and make a game, we have all these people with talent here, why don't we just put it to our own entertainment? That's when we came out with that idea, and then we decided I took the lead. I said, yes, let's do this. I'm going to start writing a story right now. And it was more of a hobby thing. It was more of like, let's make a game with the characters that are the members of the message board. Mm-hmm. And the message board name was The Tavern. That's why it became Tavern RPG.
I see. Okay.
Yes. And then after the game, I really gained people. We gained people that were working with us, and then the word spread. A lot of people got the knowledge about the game and decided saying, yeah, I'll be interested in playing this game and so on and so on. And we just realized that if we release Tavern RPG, it will only be fun for the people in the tavern. And that's why we decided to change it to Pier Solar. And then we came up with a whole new plot. And that's when we decided to go commercial and so on.
And it began as a Mega CD game, correct?
Yes, yes. The whole idea with Tavern RPG was not just about making a game, it was to make a game that you can play on your hardware. So we thought like, well, let's make this Sega CD game because anyone can burn a CD. And if you don't have a Sega CD, you can play on the emulator. If you do, you'll be able to play on the hardware without any trouble. You just have to get a CDR and burn it. It was just that we were doing the development on the emulators and we were testing and everything was going fine. And then we decided to burn a CD and see what's going on the hardware. And we were very, very excited about it. And the game started running. And then we have like this whole master slave CPU out of sync type of message.
Oh, man.
It was like, okay, let's try to figure this out. And we just started to realize that emulators, although they can run commercial games, they are very inaccurate. And we were doing a lot of things that are not allowed to do in the real hardware. The real hardware doesn't respond to what we were doing, and that's why we were getting all those errors. And we had to come to this very difficult decision of sacrificing the soundtrack to be able to get a working game. And that's when we decided to go and do the cartridge. But I was so like sad of not having the soundtrack because that was the thing that I loved the most about Lunar is like you get to play a classic RPG with awesome music. And that's when I came in and I try to push my partner Gwenael, but we all call him Fonzie. So I came up and I pushed Fonzie and said, is there any way that we can activate a Sega CD from the cartridge? And he's like, well, I think there is a way. So that's when we decided to experiment with that, and we were able to. And therefore, we released the game in a cartridge that doesn't have loading times. And we were able to have the sound coming from the Sega CD. So we got the best of both worlds.
I definitely love that feature. I burned the CD because I went for the reprint edition, and it was like magic the first time that I didn't think it worked, and then the Sega CD just started buzzing, and the music was just beautiful. It was I was surprised that it was even able to do that, and I'm surprised Sega never actually capitalized on that by selling maybe CD combos with cartridges, so you can maybe have like Sonic 1 remastered with new music.
That'd be pretty cool.
George, you had a question?
Yeah, I wanted to know why did you choose to put it on the on the Mega Drive or the Genesis instead of putting it on like even right now you're doing it on the Sega Dreamcast. It's like do you have like a soft spot for Sega consoles, I'm assuming, instead of like a Nintendo console or any other retro console?
Yes, definitely. It is my favorite system of all time. It's what I grew up playing, and I do love it. And the other people who were involved in the project also, we were big fans of the Sega Genesis. But the message board in which the game was born was essentially a retro console talk. And although it had focus in, it had general material about most consoles all the time, it had the kind of focus on the Sega scene. Most of the people that were participating in that board, they were Sega fans of some kind. So when we decided to use that knowledge, all the people that were coming towards making a game, I think Sega was an obvious choice just because everybody there is so much fan of the system. So it was a thing that made sense back then.
I was wondering when you're first approaching a game. Obviously, like George was saying, like why would you choose a retro console versus maybe just throwing it out there on iOS or Steam? Do you find that a lot more people pay attention to your games when they are on more of a, I wouldn't say a niche console, but like a retro console like the Dreamcast and the Mega Drive, as opposed to putting it out there with all the other games on a a more modern, bigger scale like that. If that question makes sense.
Well, it does, and I think I have to uh, concur, agree to you that um, if we had released Pier Solar on iOS, let's say, we had the very, very high risk of just being another game in a sea of games that come out every day. Um, Coming out for the SEGA Genesis was not a marketing strategy, but it actually worked as such because when people got a hold of the news, 2010, a new SEGA Genesis has been released. It's an RPG. It's like full, like 40 plus hours of gameplay. It's not just another homebrew game. It's an actual full-fledged commercial-grade game. It caught the attention. There's, I think, just as much as me, there's a lot of fans of the system. They're still there. A lot of people that grew up playing that or saw their big brothers growing up playing those, or big sisters. And they just like got excited about the whole thing, and we got news published in big websites, and that raised more awareness. So that helped, absolutely helped. And would Pier Solar have been as successful had we released directly, let's say, Xbox Live? Well, there is a chance. When we released Pier Solar, that was this starting to pick up. It was starting to pick up this wave of retro style RPGs, or not just retro style RPGs, retro style games in general for modern systems. That's when all those games like Super Meat Boy and Fez and Breath of Death, all those games were coming out, and I think we had a good chance still if we had released directly for a modern platform.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of being lucky to get the attention and people buy and talk about it. I call it the Angry Birds effect. Because it's a game that could be just one more game, but it just, people bought it, talk about it, and other people start buying just because their friends had it, and so on and so on. It happens. But we would be much more at the mercy of luck than just our own ability to make games, because there's a lot of games coming out every day, so it's hard to get noticed.
George, you had another question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask for like people that wanted to work on like retro console games. They're listening to this. How many people and how much? Like, what would you suggest for them to do? Like, how to start, and like how big was your team that did the Genesis game?
Okay. Well, what I can say is like, if you want to start developing a game and if you want it to be released on the actual platform, there is a lot of work and research to be done, and there is a lot of logistics involved in manufacturing products and such. It's not easy. You really have to do a lot of research and find the right manufacturers, the right components. In our case, we had a lot of work in creating the plastic parts and even the screw. Those nice game bit screws, they are not manufactured anymore. You had to find a factory, send the engineering drawings, and then they will manufacture based on that. It's crazy. But we had all that passion and we did it. Now, I think it's really a lot of effort that you have to know that you're going to have to put down, a lot of nights, a lot of free time, weekends, holidays. You don't finish the game if you don't have 100% dedication and if you don't have 100% commitment and the people that are on board with you had the same spirit. Because you asked me how many people were involved. Well, I think in the end, we probably had close to 100 people that did something somehow. But there were 8 people who were really on it, like dedicated, working, coding, building, doing something that was really relevant, and dedicating their time as much as we were. It's like every night when you get home, you eat something and you go straight to the computer, and then you stay there until after midnight, and then weekends you just program since you wake up until you go to sleep and so on. Finding this type of people is hard, especially when they're not getting paid anything. Their only reward is going to be able to get the game in the end. The game that they have been playing and testing for over a few years. So it gets to the point where if you don't really love what you're doing, it's very hard to get by. I don't know if I digress too much. But,
No, that makes a lot of sense too. Just coming from us doing a fan site, we've been doing SEGAbits for close to 4 years now, and I mean we really don't see much out of it monetarily, aside from maybe the occasional review copy. But yeah, it's definitely you need to have a lot of love involved in order to get these things done. I was curious. Did you meet any major delays in making the Genesis version? I know delays are nothing new to indie Sega games, especially Dreamcast games. But how did the scheduling go? Did it meet? Did you meet what you thought you would meet?
Well, we missed the original deadline by over 2 years. Yeah, but the thing is, like, we kind of underestimate the task at first. We thought that, all right, we're going to get this game done in a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just about like getting the graphics, typing the text, and that's it. The game is done. In reality, it is not that simple, of course. And Fonzie estimated that we would be done by November 2008, and then we started to do the sales on September, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it October? But anyway, we started to do the sales, I think, in October, and to release the game in December. And then we obviously missed that terribly. When we missed it, we just say, okay, we are delayed. We'll let you know when it's going to be done, and no more like it's going to be this date or that date, because we are not sure. And luckily, people who were pre-ordering since 2008 didn't cancel their pre-order, so we had capital to finish.
Yeah.
Well, almost. We had to put a little bit of hours, but we could get to the end of the development. We could get the game released, and there were cancellations, of course, but it was not significant. Out of all the thousands of orders that we had just a few, maybe less than 5% canceling.
Yeah.
So it was okay. Now, the thing that a lot of people don't realize is how complex and time-consuming it is to do pixel art and animate pixel art.
Yeah.
If you want it to look good, because there is always some thresholds that you can do it and you're not going to spend as much time. But the way we were designing the graphics, we actually got a criticism for one person who was saying that we were trying to emulate the Super Nintendo too much. But it was pretty much like this Sega versus Nintendo in the beginning, that would say, we're going to do it. We're going to do the Mode 7. We're going to make the game look like a Super Nintendo game because Genesis does.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So we have all that inspiration, and then we have to work a lot on the graphics to get them to look good. And obviously, by looking good, I mean looking good on a CRT. Mm-hmm. Because if you play the game on an LCD, it's not the same thing. You will see the pixels, you will see the tricks that we do to emulate non-existing palette colors and so on. But on the CRT, I think it looks just right, just what we want it to. But it takes a lot of time. It consumes a lot of time. And then beta testing the game, it's another thing that caused a bit of delay, because we think, 1 month testing, we're going to get it done. It took over 3 months of testing. So all those things, they add up in the end. But we have this very supportive community, and we have that memorable phrase from Lunar that says the delays are temporary and mediocrity is forever. And I think people understand that, and they support us, and they say, get the game done, get it right, instead of like deliver a half-baked game. So in the end, everything worked well.
Yeah, I mean, just opening up the package, you can see all the love that went into it. You don't even need to play the game to see just the effort involved. The instruction booklet was beautiful. I remember there was a poster, stickers, and like you said, I didn't even know you actually went to the effort of making the little screws for the cartridge. That's pretty impressive. Um, when developing for the Genesis, that you were saying that there was a lot of back and forth with like the SNES and the Genesis people. Do you feel though that when developing for the Genesis, in the end, it just ends up looking like a Genesis game because you're making it on a Genesis, as opposed to I know there are a lot of RPGs and games out there on iOS that claim to be, you know, like, oh, it's a 16-bit style game, but of course they're working with hardware that can do much more than 16-bit. If anything, they're holding back. Do you feel like you weren't holding back? You were really pushing the hardware and the graphics to the points that you wanted to?
Yes, I think we did as much as we could possibly do. There was just one element of the game that were the full screen cutscenes that we originally designed those showing more than 64 colors, which is the limit on-screen colors that the Genesis can do. In the demo, you can see those. But when we started doing the actual final game, and then we'd had the character redesign in the process, and the number of cutscenes and the quality of finishing that we needed to get them all looking good was just so much that we had to do this decision is let's just work with the limitations. Let's just work with 32 colors, and at least we get all the cutscenes in rather than have a few looking good but not showing a lot of them in the game. So that's the only piece. But as far as the graphics go, we did all the tricks that we could to make them looking good, and then to use the hardware to our advantage to show things that are not very common, like reflections on the ground, shadows, casting objects, casting shadows and stuff like that, you know, and the shadows affecting the characters. All those things, like we really did all that we could. And then there's obviously the mode 7, which is that 3D scene that you have a mini game and you have a vehicle that you can drive, kind of Final Fantasy VI style, you know. That was really a lot of work to do and a lot of work to improve the performance, because it was a bit slow in the beginning, but then we got Steve Snake working on it, and he is really good in assembler, and he could get that part of the game with a good performance and looking the way you guys know how it looks. So.
And you know, now that the Genesis one's out, did you immediately start work on Pure Solar HD, or was there some breathing time? Was there some time for you to catch your breath to focus on other projects?
Yes and no. Yes, because as soon as I got the game released, I started doing the XNA port. That's for Xbox 360. And I started doing that port, but eventually I got caught up in other things to do, and Pier Solar was released, and we were talking about like producing more units, and we were talking about what are new games that we're gonna do. And Guanayo left the team, Fonzie left the team, and we were kind of with this restructuring process. Like, how are we going to manage without him? He is the main programmer who's going to do the programming now. How are we going to figure out? Are we going to abandon the Genesis and let's just focus on new games that we all can program for that? There was a gap, I don't know, of 6 months in which there wasn't really a lot of development going on. There was a lot of concept development, but not a lot of development going on. But then after like 6 or 7 months, Fonzie contacted me again, and we started talking about the Macho Game Factory, which is our website, and the concept of how we make games with the opinions of people, and we decided to launch the website. He decided to come back to the company, and then that's when we were working on that concept, because it was going to be what would drive our next game development. And the Metro Game Factory came online, and then we came with Project Y, and Project Y was very interesting to see. A lot of people wanted a beat 'em up game, and we were very excited about the idea. We decided to use the input to design the concepts. And then we decided to run the Super Nintendo development. So a lot of people got excited about it, because you don't hear as much as retro development for the Super Nintendo as much as you hear for the SEGA Genesis. So a lot of people was kind of excited, happy to join, give their opinion, and get it going. And then later on in 2012, that's when the talks about doing Pier Solar began again, because by the end of 2011, I got in touch with Chewy, which is a Dreamcast developer that developed he developed a few emulators like Gens for All and SNES for All. He has a few emulators with those names. And he was up to developing our game for Dreamcast. But that was going to be a straight port, 100% new code, and it was going to be using the same graphics, and it was going to be using the same graphics and everything. In the end of 2012, Fonzie decided to come to the United States and stay here for a few months. And when he came here, because I had this contact with him every day, I kind of pitched him the Dreamcast stuff, and then he started talking about new graphics and so on, and how much those graphics were going to cost. And I was like, wow, there's no way we can raise that kind of money anytime soon if we don't put a lot of projects out. And that's when Kickstarter idea came out. And then we decided to try this. Okay, let's see if we can raise the money. If we can do it, we can hire professionals to do the graphics, and we can actually leverage the development that was being done for Dreamcast to the other platforms like PC and Android and Xbox 360. So that's how we did it. We just launched the Kickstarter campaign. It worked. And as soon as it worked, we just jump into the development, and essentially it began in 2013. So that Pier Solar HD, the whole idea is fairly new.
So you really got moving on it and really got it out quickly. That's surprising.
My question.
George, you had a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. I was going to ask, you have a Dreamcast version, you have a Genesis version. Is there a reason why you guys skipped the Sega Saturn?
Yes. The reason is because no one really mastered the system, and Sega doesn't offer support anymore. So if we were going to do Sega Saturn, we were probably going to sit out for 5 years just to get the thing working. Sega Saturn is complex. It's nothing beyond our ability. It's just that without having Sega behind us with the actual XDK, with the actual documentation and like substantial material and substantial support, it would just take too long. It would be too complex.
My other question was going to be like, you guys ever talk about doing like a Master System version either? Like just hit as many consoles as you can that has Sega on it?
Well, a Master System game is something that we have discussed many times. Not Pier Solar, though. I think some things that we do on Pier Solar would be overkill for the Master System. The way our engine works, we essentially don't have anything hard coded. Everything is content driven. If you were able to into Pier Solar and replace all the assets by new assets and replace the scripts by new scripts, you get a full new game without having to compile the engine itself. And that is something that even Steve Snake, when he saw, like, are you guys interpreting script on the fly? Yes. He's like, you guys are crazy. All those games are hard coded. And I'm like, yeah, well, we thought that was the right way to do, so we did it. And for Master System, that would be impossible. But I don't know. I like the Master System almost as much as the Sega Genesis. It was the first 8-bit console that I had, and or if you discount the Atari 2600, that it is technically 8-bit, but it's a generation earlier, right? But so I play Phantasy Star a lot. I love the RPGs, but I think for Master System, we probably should be a little more humble and do something more simpler than trying to go on with Pier Solar for it, because that would be too tough.
Well, isn't the Master System was incredibly popular in your home country, correct?
Yes. It
What
still
was
is.
that
I think
like?
it's still being sold.
What was that like living? It's like an alternate. Whenever I hear those stories, it's like an alternate universe where the Master System was the king. What was that like growing up? Not to get too far off topic, but I'm interested.
Sega was really smart in Brazil because we didn't have an official support of 8-bit systems back there, and they got in touch with Tectoy, which was a company that had a lot of influence with electronics, and they just did a very aggressive marketing campaign. They were on TV. They had like a Tectoy Sega show. And they had a lot of commercials everywhere. It was just like a lot of hype. And then magazines started to come up, all those video game magazines, and they had a lot of advertisement and a lot of reviews. And that's how they really conquered the market back there, because you had the NES clones, but you didn't really have Nintendo presence there. It was only when the Super Nintendo was probably 2 years on the market already, like around 93. I'm not very sure about the date, but it was only around that time when they actually entered officially the Brazilian market, working with another large electronics company. So back then, when Nintendo came out, there was a lot of Sega fans, and there was a lot of people who were fans of Super Nintendo because of Street Fighter and so on. So it was really real console wars, and it was really interesting to see. Like, I was so like Sega fanboy forever. I would join the army for them.
Good to hear.
I was really, really passionate back then, and I had friends that were equally passionate about the Super Nintendo, and we were gonna get into very long arguments and like get mad at each other, like trying to prove my system is better than yours and so on. It was a really fun time. I miss those times when there were differences between the systems in which you could say, well, look at this game here and this game there. This one is so much better. This one is so much faster. We had that. Now these days, the systems are so similar, and you can't tell those differences anymore.
At most, we have the 1080p, 720p war, which is pretty boring in my opinion.
I agree.
But speaking of resolutions, the Dreamcast version, it's going to have a lot of exclusive features. Can you tell us what the resolution will be for the Dreamcast version?
We are working with native 480p. If you have the 480i, if you have the regular composite or whatever cable, if you have the VGA box, it's 480p. There is ways to implement higher resolutions on the Dreamcast. You can go, I think, 800, 600 is possible. You can go even higher than that. The problem is the CD. If the more resolution you have, the bigger the graphic assets have to be, and they take up space. It's a lot of space, and there's not much on the CD. There are no more GD-ROMs anymore, so it's impossible to manufacture them. I don't think even Sega has the technology anymore. So we have to work with the limitations that a CD can offer. There are some talks that we can have 100, maybe 150 meg CDs. It's unconfirmed. We are testing stuff. But
Yeah, that's exactly why I asked. I heard.
yes, if we can get even if we can get that much, I don't think we can fit 800 by 600 graphics on the Dreamcast. So we are working with a native resolution. The thing that the Dreamcast will offer, and we are actually working on that now, is the widescreen simulation.
Nice.
So the widescreen simulation, essentially, you cannot change the 4:3 on the Dreamcast, but you can letterbox it and make it look like a widescreen. And then you use your TV zoom to make it big, and then you will have the picture will fill your screen.
Mm-hmm.
You will probably lose a little bit in the picture quality or sharpness, but you'll be able to fill your screen if you have a plasma TV or something and keep the proportion without stretching anything. So that's one of the things that we are doing. VMU, we have a mini game for the VMU. So if you have Pier Solar, you'll be able to download the game into your VMU. If you just want to use a VMU in your controller, there is a special feature that we have. It's like a little radar that shows you where the chests are. So it will add information. It's not just going to be static showing the logo of the game. And yeah, those are the main things I think the Dreamcast has.
So the widescreen, is that locked in, or is that something you're still testing with?
We're still working on it, but it's my personal goal. I'm not gonna give up.
Okay. Yeah, I love any Dreamcast game that has the widescreen, even if it's not, like you said, true widescreen. It looks great, especially in VGA. I was playing Wacky Races last week, and it looks really good. We have some reader questions, if you don't mind.
Please.
In the Sky, he actually was the one who gave us all the questions, given how quickly we got to getting to this. We didn't get that many questions out there, but there's some good ones. He was wondering, have you played any other games out there recently or in the past couple of years that scratch the same itch as Pier Solar seems to? Or does the team have some unexpected tastes? I guess he's asking if there are any similar games out there.
I haven't had much time to play games, and honestly, what I did all these last years was play God of War over and over, just because that was the first 3D game that really made me restore the faith that video games can still be fun in 3D. And I play a lot of Assassin's Creed. I play all of them. I'm currently going through Assassin's Creed 4.
Mm-hmm.
But I also play games that are a lot of fun, like Cloudberry Kingdom, Tokitori, Mighty Switch Force, The Cave, the new DuckTales, Castle of Illusion. You know, it kind of started looking like retro style anyway.
Yeah. What did you think of Castle of Illusion?
It looks cool. I don't think it tops the Mega Drive version, but
Yeah.
it looks cool. It's just like with DuckTales. It felt too easy somehow.
It was a very easy game.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt like it is nice, but something missing. It's hard to explain. I enjoy playing the game. It was fun. I actually got my wife engaged, but yeah, it feels like something was missing.
Yeah. Have you gotten a chance to play any other indie Dreamcast games that are out there right now?
I only played Last Hope.
That's a good game.
Yeah, and it was because in the beginning of the idea of the Dreamcast development, we got in touch with Red Spot Games, and they sent me a copy of Last Hope so they could see the quality of their packaging, and they do good work. It's just that it was very hard to align how the development would go with them and to find the developers that were really interested in doing it. And we try a few options, and it just never fully clicked.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, like, the same reason why I haven't played a lot of games recently is most of my time I'm here working on Pier Solar HD. So I wish I could be playing all of those, and hopefully after the game is done, I'm gonna have a salary again. I'll be able to afford those things.
Nice, yeah. On the subject of packaging, are you going for the CD case design then, or the DVD case for the
A CD,
Dreamcast? Okay.
CD, no questions. The same. You just have to look at Pier Solar, the Mega Drive packaging.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do. We are even studying how to do the European Dreamcast box, which is something that it's completely out of standard. And
Yeah.
we did a lot of patent research. It doesn't seem to be patented, but we still, as usual, trying to contact Sega, make sure that they clear. They say, oh yeah, if you do it, whatever. So that's what they did for Pier Solar. They pretty much say, we cannot license you guys because SEGA Genesis doesn't exist, but if you guys do it, we're not going to say anything. And they didn't. So I actually got the opportunity to meet Sega guys who know Pier Solar, who played Pier Solar, and they all admire what we did. So I'm very happy for that. I just wish that we had had the opportunity to make it official, but it's okay.
Yeah. It looks official. George, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you add another question?
I was actually gonna. Well, we could finish off in Sky's questions if you want.
Oh, absolutely. I actually had another package-related one. Real quick, I'm actually considering getting the Japanese version. I missed out on the Kickstarter, unfortunately. I feel so ashamed telling you that. But the Japanese version, is that going to be entirely in Japanese, the booklet?
I think we're gonna probably do the same thing that we did for Pier Solar. We're gonna have a universal booklet in English,
Okay.
and then we're gonna have the quick instructions for the other languages. You haven't seen, or you don't have it, but maybe you've seen the original classic, the collector's edition of Pier
Yes.
Solar. And then we have this huge paper that you unfold it, and it has all the languages and everything. But we will incorporate artwork that is Japanese style for the Japanese one. It will be a Japanese style box, and possibly we can get the texts on the back in Japanese as well, but I'm not sure I can get the whole manual in Japanese.
That's quite all right. I was actually, it's just something I noticed with a lot of the German developed games, their manuals are in Japanese, and it always kind of bothers me because I feel like, not to be, against Japanese, but I'd like to understand the manual too. I'd like to know the game's story. I have Germans selling games to America in Japanese. It's a little messed up. I don't know. But that's interesting. George?
The game started development in 2004. Like, how was the industry, like the gaming industry, compared to how it is now, since it's been 10 years?
I can definitely say that back then there was no retro wave. Back then it was all 3D, and I think that's when the FPS were starting to pick up. And then after FPS pick up, they would have this wave of FPS games. And then the zombie thing came up, and now we have a lot of zombie games. But back then, there was no real retro wave. And what we were doing was actually something quite unique, like designing the game in the original RPG style, 90s RPG Japanese style also. Because a lot of homebrew development tends to go Western style, but I play a lot of Western RPGs, and they just don't catch me the same way. And I think right now, the main difference is that you can go everywhere. You can go on PSN, you can go Xbox Live, you can go with Steam, you can go everywhere and get a lot of big wave of retro style games like we do. Another very important thing that we didn't have back then and we do now is independent developers. A lot of independent developers out there, and it became a subsection of the industry, um, or a section of the industry, that independent developers are being taken seriously by Sony, by Microsoft, and by Nintendo, and that's really nice. It really opens up the possibilities for so many things. I like to say that a lot of people confuse indie or independent with homebrew, and it's not quite the same thing. Independent just means that we don't need a publisher. We can do everything on our own, and because we don't need a publisher, we have independence to design the games the way we think they are gonna be enjoyed the most, and not by the way that the big publishers say, "Oh, if we don't do like this, it's not gonna sell, so we are not gonna approve this concept." So it's a thing that we have now, this independence to get great games like Super Meat Boy that are crazy fun, and it can get into a major platform. So I think that's one of the biggest changes since then, and the mere fact that we were able to pitch our game, get Kickstarter, and that's another thing that didn't exist back then. It exists now. Like, you can actually get funding without being in debt. That's the most awesome thing in the world. So we have all those things going on, and then it just opens up a possibility for a lot of people that have a lot of creativity, just never had the opportunity of getting into an industry that was pretty much very tough to get into. And I think that those are the major differences, and I think it's much better now than it was then.
Another thing about your guys' game, it's known because you guys use your own RPG engine that you guys developed. What made you guys, go that route instead of using like RPG Maker or Game Maker, or another like they already made software?
There are two reasons, I would say. I would not lie to say the RPG Maker inspired me, because when I was doing Pier Solar, when the game development began, I was toying a lot with RPG Maker 2000. So it did inspire us, at least in the way that we made our tools, our map editors, our event-driven stuff. There was a lot of inspiration in RPG Maker scripts and such. But the major two reasons, I would say, is first, games made on engines like that, they tend to look alike. And we want to have our own visual identity. We don't want to have a game that looks like that other game with a different theme and so on. Like RPG Maker back then, for instance, you could not have turn-based battles without that active thing like Final Fantasy. And that was always a big no-no to me. I know a lot of people love it, but I just get so anxious, like when I'm trying to search the menus for the right command and I hit the wrong commands because if you don't choose them fast, the enemies are attacking you and so on. So that's one thing. Like we didn't want our game to be like looking like other games and having to implement the features that were in a box rather than the feature that we wanted to implement. Another thing is, if you depend on an engine like that, if you have like, if the engine specification change, or if they cease to exist, you don't have support, you can't implement new features, or if they change something, they say, now we're gonna ask for royalties for everything that you sell made with our engine, and so on and so on. It's not a very nice way to begin, because you're all tied up to something else. You don't have independence. You don't have flexibility to do things the way you want. So That's why we thought like we could develop the engine ourselves. And obviously, uh, that was no RPG maker or game maker for the Sega Genesis. Then we would have to end up developing something anyway. But even if we were making it for a PC, we would definitely have done our own engine to give us the freedom that we wanted.
My next question was going to be right now there's a lot of big game studios, I guess, having trouble financially. Like Irrational Games just closed down. And do you think that you guys were so successful because you guys kept your team small? And that's what.
That certainly helps. I was making some calculations, like to have 10 people, uh, 10 people working like on salary, it's about $1 million a year. So you have to be really careful. You can spend money really quickly, and when you're working with developing games, um, I usually like to say that video games, they have the same. It's like cinema interactive. You have all the arts involved. You have graphical art. You have writing art. You have music art. You have interaction, acting, direction. It's the whole thing. And when you start hiring people that are professionals, they are very expensive. Um, one of the reasons that we suffer a delay on Pier Solar HD was this. We spent like 3 months trying to hire someone, and we cannot find the people to be hired. At least not the right people. You know, we do get a lot of applications, but it wasn't the stuff that we were looking for. So we looked for a while until we could find the people that could do the job. And even that took a lot of adjustment to get the style right. And when we did, many months had passed, and okay, now we have to really like do this, you know, and it took a lot of work. And luckily, I was able to negotiate for a fixed price. So when I got the studio that's doing the graphic art, we negotiate for a fixed price, so we don't have to incur in more expenses for each month that we delay. Now, had we hired a staff, every day that they come, they are charging. It's not like they're gonna say, "Oh yeah, no, because we delay, you don't have to pay me." It just doesn't work like that. So you can spend a lot of money in a while if you have a large team. But also with video games, I think there is a lot of marketing involved, and marketing is expensive. Like I was saying, I think we were lucky because we did a SEGA Genesis and we got a lot of attention. If we wanted to get the same attention releasing on mobile, like iOS or Android, we would have to have done a lot of marketing, and that would have cost a lot of money. And if you have publishers, it also complicates a lot too, because publishers can eat a lot of your income. So you will not earn as much as you were expecting to. And if you have bills to pay, it gets complicated. So it's a tough industry, and I wouldn't say that we are successful yet. I will only say we are successful after we release Pure Solar and we get all the investment back. We can get the game to sell enough to be able to fund another game. Mm-hmm. That's when I would say yes, we were successful. Right now, we are just doing according to the established parameters, like Mr. Data would say. Mm-hmm. If we just do it right and we can get the game released and we get the attention, we get the game selling, we can fund new games and those games do well, and I think we would get there. But I think all this year that we had with the limited budget from Kickstarter, it kind of taught us how to manage the money in order to keep it cheap yet keep it good, and like you say, keep the team small. There are many great developers that like Japanese developers. I forgot the name. Japanese developers from the 90s that they still have like Treasure. They still have a staff of 30 people. So you don't have to have like a huge staff in order to make games. You just have to have the right motivated people, and then the rest is just about like having a good product and getting people to know about it.
And people will be knowing about it soon. I know you're in the home stretch. Do you have any idea of when you're going to be completing the game and releasing it?
Our target is end of April. I'm very positive about that so far. Our graphics are coming now because it was many months developing the graphics, and now finally they're coming finished, and I'm being able to insert them in the game and try them, and that's why it took me so long to make that Steam video, because I had all the graphics being developed and nothing was done yet. Now all the things are being done at the same time. So okay, now I have enough material to make a Steam video and then take some screenshots and get the green light going. But I'm very positive because I'm seeing the things coming together. The engine is very solid. I open up the beta applications so that I can start the beta testing. There's not as much things to test as there was when we released the original game, because the script is mostly the same with a few additions, and the engine pretty much works like the SEGA Genesis version.
That's good.
So hopefully everything will go well, and we're gonna get approved, because we have to when we submit the concepts, they have to be they have to get the final approved. When we get the final approved, we'll get a release date, and then we're gonna say, okay, it's gonna be, I don't know, April 30 or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And can you give us any updates on Project Y? I know that's something that Fonzie is overseeing, not yourself.
It is true. It is true. Since he left the office, I don't get as much news from him as I would like to. But I've been I got a few screenshots that he sent to me, and basically all the stages are done. It's the sprite animations is what's holding the project back. There are a lot of enemies that we try to design the game that would live up to Streets of Rage 2 and 3. Somehow I forget about 3. I don't know why. I think it's the music.
Yeah.
So we have to design a game that will live up to that game, as musically, gameplay-wise, and graphically-wise. So we need the enemy diversity. We need animations that are well done, and it takes a while to get those done. And I know that's what's holding the project back. I think there is a few enemies that weren't done yet, and they are being done right now. Mm-hmm. The music is already done. I have like 55 tracks, I think. I don't know if they're all going to make to the game, but there's a lot of music in the game. And the music is awesome. I think Yuzo Koshiro will cry when he hears it. Yes, nice. That's how good I think it is. It is really good.
Wow, definitely looking forward to that. Are we going to see any Pier Solar like cameos or Easter eggs in Project Y?
I don't know. I wish I knew. Fonzie never spoke to me about it, and I think at least on the like graffiti art or something, we're probably gonna have something go on, some at least a logo or something. I don't know, but I'm not sure about that yet.
Nice. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on and joining us. This has been a great discussion, learning a lot about both the Dreamcast and the Genesis games. George, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, that's it.
All right, great. Well, Tulio, we look forward to the release of the game. We wish you luck in completing it. And, once it's out and people have played it, we'd love to have you back on and maybe discuss more of the story and gameplay of the Dreamcast version, if you'd be interested.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and thank you very much for this opportunity. Anytime you guys want to join, discuss, it doesn't have to be WaterMelon related or whatever, just let me know.
Absolutely.
The only thing I would just like to ask, if possible, is just that whoever's listening, go to Greenlight and vote yes for Pier Solar. We need all the votes that we can get.
We will link to that on the description, and if you're looking at this on YouTube, in the description of the YouTube video
Yes,
for the green light.
definitely.
Oh, amazing.
And we'll tweet it on all our social networks, so we'll definitely get the word out there for you. I'm really looking forward to the game, and it's been just great speaking with you. Thank you so much.
All right, my pleasure.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
Well, thanks again, Tulio, for joining us, and for those who stuck in there and didn't skip till the end, because we know you have no ability to do that on YouTube or on iTunes. We have the 4 winners of the SEGA Tommo Mobile iPhone case giveaway. So without further ado, here they go. The first winner is Franco JMR, and he sent us a few pictures. One was him in front of projections of Sonic the Hedgehog. It was kind of trippy, but I actually picked a picture that it was a little grainy, a little blurry, but he was talking into a Genesis controller like a phone. And I thought he's hitting all the marks. It's creative. It's simple. He wasn't going all crazy. I can see actually a Moonwalker poster in the background, so that's a plus.
That's what. Don't lie. That's what got you, the Moonwalker poster.
No, actually, what got me was I was a big fan of the Nokia N-Gage, and it reminded me of talking into a Nokia N-Gage.
Did you own any Nokia N-Gage when it came out?
No, but my local game store has one, and I've looked at it. It's like $70. I don't know what the guy's thinking. It's selling a cell phone that does not function anymore for $70.
So you never owned one when they came out?
No, unfortunately, I was too poor to own a Nokia N-Gage. But Franco JMR, he is going to win, I believe, the Mega Drive case. Yes, he is winning the Mega Drive case. So congratulations to him. Our second winner is Nat0, Natt0. He sent us a photo. It was a little bouquet of Sega things. There's a Genesis, Saturn. He actually has, the Dreamcast and another Genesis, and just a lot of good games. There's nothing in that picture that I dislike, which is positive.
I'm looking for something to hate on, but I can't. So yeah.
Sonic's on something, like a T-shirt or something. I can't tell what it is.
Yeah.
So maybe I hate that.
Maybe, but I can't see it. So
yeah, maybe I hate that I can't see it. So he has won the Sega Saturn case because I see a Saturn on the picture.
Okay, so you see the console in your arm, giving them that one.
That's how I'm deciding it, and since we have 2 Genesis cases left, the first Genesis case goes to ER1KS. Eric's. I remember the day when you could read. Is that an I? You could read people's names, but now thanks to the internet, everyone's like Barrio de 124. But yes, Eric's one. He has an insane collection he's standing in front of.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's like a library of Sega goodness.
He says he's 5 away from a complete U.S. set.
Of Genesis?
Of Genesis games, yeah.
Wow.
And if you follow his Instagram, you can see the work that he's putting into that room. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's complete collection. We're not talking like just the game cartridge. It's like complete.
Yeah. So I mean, whenever I approach these contests, I'm like, well, I should help out the little guys, the guys who can only afford like a couple games. But at the same time, you gotta show respect for people who have insane collections like this. So he's getting a Genesis case, so he can finally play all those games on his Genesis iPhone case, assuming that's how they work. The fourth and final is Epon Boogaloo. That one I can kind of read. Epon Boogaloo. And he looks like he's a little boy. No, it's actually a retro picture from 1992, and he is like shitting his pants holding a Genesis. I want to say that's the Model 2, correct?
It's
yes.
Model 2, yeah.
I never owned one. I don't think I've ever played one either. But
Model 2?
Yeah, I have a Model 1. I'm an old man.
Yeah, I prefer the Model 1, but my cousins used to own the Model 2 later on, and it was fine, I guess. I didn't like the Model 3 though.
No, that one sucked. Didn't the Model 2? I mean, look at this kid's face. He doesn't care about which model he's getting. He's getting Sonic 2 modeled in. Yeah.
He's ready. He's ready to pop in that Sonic the Hedgehog too.
And he didn't. I'm sure he ripped that box open, and I'm sure the box doesn't exist anymore.
No, I'm pretty sure.
I'd like to have a follow-up photo of him holding whatever remnants are left from that console. I'm sure it's just him holding a picture of the console. But if he does still have it, I'd be impressed. But regardless, if he doesn't have it, he's going to get a Genesis iPhone case so he can relive those memories. Maybe he'll send us a picture of him opening the package and looking happy.
For a follow-up?
Yeah, for a follow-up photo. Maybe if he does that, I will give him an extra gift. Maybe I'll give him like an iPhone game or something like that.
There you go.
I could gift him Sonic 2. If he doesn't have Sonic 2 on iOS, I will gift him it.
There you go.
There you go. And I'm sorry to the other winners, but I'm sure they'll understand. I just want to make a boy's dream come true.
Your dream come true. You're the boy
Dream maker. Well, I'm inspired by Michael Jackson. It's I don't have a Neverland Ranch, so I need to.
You need to give away contests online.
The Swingin' Report Show and SEGAbits is my Neverland Ranch, where all the kids come to play.
If you guys want to see the pictures of the winners, we'll be linking those in the descriptions of the YouTube video or wherever or the post.
Mm-hmm.
And
I guess that's it. That's the end of our show. And we actually have another show planned very, very soon. It's probably the shortest gap we've had between two shows. It is.
I don't know if I like this too much.
All right, man. Well, that's what happens when you do interviews.
I just had that what is this, Twitch? What do they call that thing? What do the hipsters call those services? Streaming, gaming, or whatever. Yeah. Me and Corey did Streets of Rage 2, which should be posted on the site or before this gets posted up. I don't know. I was gonna upload it on YouTube, and we're probably gonna. I don't know. We haven't decided what we're gonna call it yet. Probably, I'm thinking SEGAbits Plays, and then just the name of the game.
That works. Simple.
That works. Simple. And so it'll be up on our YouTube, probably on our site soon. Hope you guys enjoy that.
Yeah, and join us next week. We're going to have Darren Wall of the Genesis Mega Drive Kickstarter book, our first returning guest. So he'll be coming back, and we're going to be talking Genesis, and we're going to be talking Streets of Rage. So it's going to be a fun discussion. It's been a while since we last talked to him, so I'm sure he's made a lot of progress on the book. And maybe we'll try to squeeze some exclusive info out of him. So, so that ends the show. This was our first show of Genesis Month, by the way. I know you didn't hear it, George, but we had the new intro, which played before this. I just ruined the whole magic of the show.
Oh, great.
Yeah. But
I think it's live.
But wait till you get a listen at the song, the closing song that's playing right now as we speak. Can you hear it?
Oh, yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, so why don't we let that fade in while we say goodbye, and then people can enjoy the song.
All right. Goodbye.
All right. Bye. There we go.